How you doing? I got a little project today, nothing really big, but it's something I started yesterday off camera, and I want to show you what the problem is and how I'm going to correct it. Yesterday I had to take this entire door off, and believe me, it is heavy. And I had to cut an inch off the bottom. This is the cutoff part of it. As you can see, it's swelled up. It's supposed to be 1.5 inches thick, and it's more like 2 inches. 2 3/4 inch pieces of that OSB crap board. Back, I think in 1997, I built this main part of the shed, and then of course the rest of these are additions. I didn't know at the time, and I built everything using OSB, and you can plainly see I had patched it throughout the years. Here, and the bottom rotted out, and I used pressure treated here, and covered it all up and everything. But I didn't know better, and I used OSB crap board. Well, that's what happens. The damn door swells, and I have to kick it to get it open and everything, so now I got an inch space under here, which I temporarily put a piece of thin plywood on the inside to keep the mice out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repair that bottom. I could replace the whole door and make another one, but that's expensive, getting 2 3/4 inch pieces of 4x8 sheet of plywood, because the door is 36 inches wide by, I can't recall how high it is. I'm going to say 6 foot, a little better than 6 foot. And you know, OSB is dense and heavy, and it's good as long as it's dry, but it's crap when it gets wet. Now inside here, I just stuck a temporary piece of 1/4 inch plywood across the bottom so that mice don't get in, because this is so tight before that I don't even think ants could get in here. So we certainly don't want mice in the shed, so we've got to fix that. So I'm going to put the piece, I got some pressure treated 1x6, and I'm going to put it on the outside. This is some decking board here, 1x6, and it's pressure treated, so I got to cut off a 3/4 inch length to put on the bottom of that door. And when this dries properly, I will paint it white to match the rest of the trim. It'll just be a wide piece of trim on the bottom instead of a narrow piece. Alright, the door is exactly 3 foot wide, 36 inches. And I just measured the height. Not that I'm going to be doing anything with that, and it's 71 inches. It clears my head, so that's all that matters. So we're going to measure out 36 inches of this 1x6 here, and I'm going to cut it the exact width of the door, which is of course 36 inches, as I said. Be right back. This is why you always measure twice or even 3 times and cut only once. I measured that piece 36 inches, but I did not cut it yet. I'm glad I didn't, because the width of this door is 36 inches. That's quite true. But it has to be an allowance for the trim on each side. So this is a sample piece of the same type of material. It's going to have to be, this is 3/4 stock here, there's trim on each end, so I'm going to have to take 1.5 inches, if I'm not mistaken, off the length of that. So it's going to be what, 34.5? We'll double check the measurements with the ruler here. We'll do that off camera, because I don't trust my math figuring at all. Alright, well, I just measured this, and we're 34.5 inches from here to here. This trim is 3/4 inch thick. The door is 36 inches, as I said. So what I'm going to do is cut this 34.5 inches. And what it's going to do is it's going to sit on the outside of this, and then I'm going to mark this and cut this part out. And same here. And that piece will become a part of the bottom trim. Now I'm going to show you something on the bottom of this door here as to why I'm using such a wide piece of material here. I always like to show. It helps out people as to why I do things, and I try to share my projects, and most people appreciate them, and I appreciate all my friends. I try to help everybody out by doing simple things like this. These projects are not put out here for people who have money and can go and pay somebody to do it right. I build my own things and I do my own things, and that's what these videos are all about. There's 2 layers, as I told you. There's 2 layers of 3/4 inch. You can't really see it because it's got the paint on it. 3/4 inch OSB. When I made this door, which I should never have used, because down here I had nothing but trouble, and I had to plane it down, and actually I took the skill saw and cut more off of it, about 1/8 inch, because it was binding up into here. But most of the binding was down at the bottom here because the wood swelled up, as I showed you earlier in this video. Now I cut 1 inch off of this, so this is sitting 1 inch higher than the threshold. Now, see, it's rotted right here. Up here, it's pretty solid. Now I could use 1.5 inch wide strips like I used on, these are nothing but little furring strips. But we're going to use the wider piece, the 5.5 inch piece, and we're going to come across just like this. Then we'll have something to nail into, or even carriage bolts. Maybe 3 carriage bolts, one here, and one in the middle. That's if I have them. I have to check my supply here, because if I nail further up, I'm going to be okay. Because what it was doing, it was wicking moisture up from the bottom, from the threshold. Now with this being off the floor now, the only water you're going to get is running onto this, and it's going to hit the pressure treated wood. I fixed this now. This is going to outlast me. I built the shed, the first part of the shed, as I told you, in 1997. That's when I built the addition. This is an addition right here. This is the original metal shed at this point. This is the area where I was working on the battery here, on my hands and knees right here. That's just a piece of cardboard, which I really should get rid of, because I don't have any workbench space. Poor man, what do you want? Hey, got to do what you got to do with what you got to do with. What you do with, well, whatever. Can't even talk today. And believe me, I had my coffee this morning. So anyways, I built this, but I used OSB crapboard, as you can see here. But it's fine if it's dry. But I should never have used it for the door. Alright, we'll get to work on this. Less chatter, more work. So we're cutting back to 34.5 inches instead of 36. But we're going to do that right now. I'm going to show you something on this. This is an 8-inch chop saw. I got this for 20 bucks about 10 years back at the yard sale. Now, this is a 5.5 inch or a 1 by 6, but you can see that little piece that didn't get cut off here. Now, very gently, I take a small saw and cut it. Otherwise, you'll tear the wood either down here or you'll tear it down here. This is going to be a little hard. I won't do this on camera, of course, so I put a support up underneath here, like I got here, so it doesn't bend off, so I can slide it off to one side to the other and cut it with my small saw. You don't want to just pull that, breaking off, because that's going to mess up your even cut here, and you want a nice smooth cut. I know I do. Okay, so here is the part I got to cut. You can see I got it supported at both ends, actually. So we just take a saw and we just trim that off. This is something I really don't have to show you. I think most of you people out there know about this, but just thought I'd share what little knowledge I do have. Now you get a nice, smooth cut. All I got to do is hit a little sandpaper on the edges of that, and we'll be set to go. Okay, now what I want to do, so that this doesn't jam into the threshold, because this wood here is on the outside of the door. In other words, the door is setting on top of the threshold, if you know what I'm trying to get at. So this board is going to go on the outside of the door like the trim is. So if I drop this board all the way down here, I will be below the threshold. The threshold is roughly about a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch. I can't have that. So what we're going to do is we're going to shim it up. So in other words, an ant can get underneath there, but I'd rather have it that way. Ant's going to get in anyways. But this way, when you get ice and snow, see, before the bottom of this door in the wintertime used to freeze up because the OSB would soak up water, and then it would freeze to the threshold, and I'd have to kick the damn door to get it open. That's kind of rough on my shoes, When I lay that across there, and after I get the height I want, then I'm going to take a measurement and mark the 2 X's, the lower part, so I know where to cut it off. I'm going to have to shave that a little bit, because that's going to bind like a bastard. That's going to bind like a bastard. We'll trim that down, but I want to mark here and here. But not until I get the height of this, because right now it's sitting on the wood. It's got to come up about a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch. So there'll be a little bit of a clearance under there. It won't fit as tight as originally, but that's okay. A mouse ain't going to get in there. So that's my main concern. So we'll be back on this video. I got to trim this off. I probably show much more details on things I do than I really should, because that's just the way I am. I just like to show how I do things, and it helps out people. But anyways, I want to show you something here. On this threshold here, I want to get close here with the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, I got a macro. I hope you can see it. Now you see the rubber part of this threshold here, way up in this corner, is up higher. Here's the flat end of the stick here. You see how much room I got between the base here and this? Now when I come over to this end, this is really flattened out a lot more in some places. Not a lot, but a little bit. So here's what I have to do. I'm estimating 3/8 of an inch. So putting this isn't even a 1/4 inch thick. If I take 2 of these and drop them like that, I can safely take 2 paint sticks and put them here and put 2 more over there. I can get the height so I know that when I close this door, I'm not going to jam either into the aluminum here, which would be very bad because I'd have to take the whole damn thing off again to trim it down, or bind into this rubber. Originally this rubber was up a lot higher and it would make a seal, but we can't risk having the door freeze. Even though this is pressure treated now, it's not going to wick up a lot of water like the OSB did, but it's still going to have water and it could still freeze to the bottom of the threshold, bottom of the door to the threshold I should say, and cause a problem. So we got to cut this pretty close. So we're going to put 2 sticks here and we're going to put 2 sticks over here, and I think we can get the height just about right. And I may not have to remove this 1/4 inch plywood until later on after I get this outside done. All right, now see which end here we want to use. And put this down that way. Put the crown the proper direction here. Now what I got is 2 paint sticks, 2 on each side. And now what you want to do is mark this here and here. So I'll cut this, which it fits right up in there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 4 carriage bolts through here, rather than to nail it and bend the nail over on the other side. That's crap work, you know. We try not to do that kind of job, not for something like this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut these off and I'll come back on the video in a minute here. Alright, so as you can see, I cut down the back, the bottom I should say. We can paint that up again, it's no big deal, but the wood is pretty solid in the area about 1 inch up. The rest of it's pretty solid. So that wide piece that I'm going to put in there will be fine. I hope you can see that without my big ass head in the way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some 1/4 inch galvanized, am I in the camera here? 1/4 inch galvanized carriage bolts. But what I'm going to do first is to put one in the middle to make sure it fits. Now, see how that fits in there? Now when this dries thoroughly, because pressure treated wood has to dry, when this dries thoroughly it'll be painted white with this and it'll kind of match the trim. Or I could paint it redwood, no big deal. But what I'm going to do now is I want to put one in the middle to hold it up there. And the reason for that is I don't want to put all the bolts in and then find out that for some reason I'm hanging up on the threshold. I don't think I am going to be hanging up on it, because I got both of these paint sticks, 2 on each side, stacked up, and she's holding it up, and she's right up against this. So we're going to drill if this battery holds out. I'll tell you that never buy a Ryobi battery operated product. The batteries just don't hold up. So, well, do I need to worry about the center? No, I'll put it right here. Alright, we're going to pack that out. We'll take this board off and we'll continue drilling. The wood is pretty solid here. We have to tap these in because I want these to fit tight. There's a 1/4-inch bolt and a 1/4-inch drill bit. So what I'm going to do, put this back. Should have brought my hammer. It's in the shed. We'll tap that in. Alright, this is temporary, and if it's lined up, then that'll become a permanent bolt, and we'll just put some more on the other side. We'll unlock the door. Make sure she don't drag. Take that out, take that out. Now, let's see. It's hitting a little. I don't like that. You know what she's hitting? She's hitting this. That's what I was afraid of. I got a space over here. I got too much space here and not enough here. She's not hitting the threshold, she's hitting the trim on the side. So we're going to have to elongate this hole just a little bit and kick it over this way. But I think we're good. I think we're good on the threshold. And then we're going to make sure she's up tight against this. So I'll just elongate this hole just a little bit here. We'll get that thing over so it fits tight there. Or I could take and cut off a little more of that, but I don't want to cut too much. Alright, I didn't mess around with the hole in the board, but I did make this hole with a larger bit so I can shift this thing over more. If that don't work, we'll just trim down more. I don't like doing that because I want a tight fit up against here. So we're going to do that. We'll try to get that up, and we're going to put have to put a bigger washer on the other side of this, of course, and tighten this up, bring it up as high as I can, tighten it up, and then make sure it's all good before we drill any more in here. And then what I'm going to do, before I do that, I'm going to put some Phenoseal along here to keep the water from going in here, but I don't think that's going to really matter because this OSB crap is going to rot out, but it probably won't be in my lifetime. Alright, I put some Phenoseal on there, so when I slap this up against there, hopefully it'll keep the water. When it hits here, it don't collect at the bottom so much and get behind there. Maybe give it a few more years, I don't know. But anyways, we're going to put that up there, and I'm going to bolt that up there and hold it up as high as I can, tighten it up, and then make sure it don't jam into here anymore. I think we got the threshold cleared. We'll find out soon enough. I got that tightened up. Let's see how she does. Perfect. Now, take a closer look here. Okay, so you can see that she's right up against there, which is okay, but we got clearance here, see? Which is what we want when the wood swells. But it's going to be a little binding action here, but she binds in the door anyways. You can see all this. She binds in the trim, and I'll tell you why. That's not how I built it. This damn stuff swells a little bit. So if you was to take a ruler and measure the thickness, it originally was 1.5 inches. But I'll bet you anything it's gained a good 1/8 inch up here. And down there it gained about 2 inches. That's why I had to cut it off. So I'm sitting fine. You know, I can always, if I have to, I can always shave a little bit in here too. I'm not going to worry about it. We'll just tighten that down, put some more carriage bolts in there, and we'll get that. But I'll tell you, she clears the threshold. As a matter of fact, I'll take one stick here and lay it here. And I'll bet you I won't be able to close the door. Nope. So this is, I would say this is, I don't know, what are these, 1/8 inch stick? They ain't a quarter, I know that. So you don't want to be sitting right on top of this because there's going to be swelling in there, but there isn't going to be the problem I had before because this stuff is pressure treated, so we'll be good. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a carriage bolt here and I'm going to put a carriage bolt here. I think 3 carriage bolts should be fine for that. No use nailing it because it'll hold, but bolting is much better. So we're going to do that off camera. Success. Let's show you how nice it closes. What you're hearing is this binding action here in the trim due to the swelling of the OSB. But there's no ball binding down at the bottom, and the door opens very easily. I no longer have to kick it open. So I want to show you on the inside now. Now, as you can see, I got the 3 bolts in here. Now, I can't go lower because there's nothing to bolt into. I mean, I could put a piece in here. I'm going to take out that 1/4 inch temporary piece of plywood that I got down there. I'm going to take that out of there. I could dress it up by putting another piece of wood on here, better than what I got there now on the inside, but it's no big deal. I could even leave that plywood on there, not a big deal. But you see, ideally I'd like to be able to put a bolt down the bottom, but there's nothing to bolt to. So it's got kind of like it's not right up against the door, it's more bolted on the top. You really need some bolts down here too, but you have nothing, like I say, to bolt into. But it's not a big deal. There's no mice are going to get in here. And that's the reason why I put that in there temporarily before I put this board on. Well, anyways, that's it. So when you don't have a hell of a lot of cash and you have an older shed, well, this is what you can do. It works for me. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, everybody.